Welcome back to Just Life with Cicely. And today I have an in-person guest, which it's been a minute since I was able to do a podcast in person. So I'm very excited. And I'm with one of my coworkers, if not my favorite coworker, Kyland Hall. And just so excited to unpack who you are as a person and just talk about life because we just did an episode for his podcast. It was great. I'll let you talk about that.
Oh, that was awesome.
Yeah. So first, we'll start off with a life update. I don't have much of a life update as I just did an episode with Kaylee Chapman, my first ever friend. So if you haven't listened to that episode, go listen to it. She's an incredible human and just has a great insight on life. But to Kyland, I don't really have much of a life update. I've just been chilling, enjoying life. Let's go do the fun one.
Yeah.
How's life? What have you been up to?
Yeah. So the thing I'm most excited about right now is I have renovated stairs leading up to my apartment. So I live in a multifamily house and I stepped on one of the steps, collapsed completely. The handyman said, you know what, we're going to build it brand new.
Okay.
So yeah, took only a few days too. So now I'm glad that that's all done. That's kind of symbolic a little bit of like, there's kind of some life renovations happening too. I'm really excited about my niece. She's a new kind of part of my life. Never been uncle before. So getting to see her, and she actually just for the first time today said uncle.
Oh.
So we opened up the FaceTime call. My mom called me and she's got Renly. She's holding her and she sees my face come up on the screen and she looks right at me because you're uncle.
Uncle Kyland.
So
that is
yeah,
so cute.
that set me up for the week. I think that's gonna push me through whatever else comes up.
One thing you talked about in that, and I want to unpack it. You said that there's a bunch of different life transitions happening right now, and this is just happening. First of all, that always happens. Like it rains, it pours, right? That saying.
Yeah.
So, do you want to talk about that a little bit?
Well, so I'll say one of the things is even just considering what's next for me. So I just transitioned into a month-to-month situation with my lease, which was a big deal. I was trying to make sure that was kind of solidified because, you know, we're on contracts and it's like, who knows what comes after that? I could stay, I could leave. So that was kind of a major win. I was kind of concerned about how that was going to work out. But the other thing is just kind of building relationships. I think is like the biggest kind of life update, I guess, is kind of reigniting some of the relationships I had kind of maybe neglected or wasn't feeding into as much as I should have. For example, with my sister, who's actually out of the country. But we're spending a lot more time together on the phone. Same thing with my mom and with my family out in Goshen. And so I think there's just a lot of renovation in terms of maintaining and like re-looking at the things I care about and value.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, prioritizing like different relationships and just making time. Yeah, I get that. I feel like we are so busy sometimes in life, we kind of forget about what really matters.
Right.
So that's good, slowing it down. And we live in a society where things run, go, go. And sometimes we lose sight of those things. So I love that. I love that. So let's go into a little deeper. Who is Kyland Hall? Where are you from? And what brought you to South Bend?
So born and raised in Central Valley of California. So I was born in Bakersfield, and then when I was 13, I left to move to Fresno. So that was kind of a split household situation with my mom and then with my dad. And then after college, so I spent my college years in Fresno as well. After college, I moved to LA. So that's kind of like where all I've been, as far as kind of like what was going on there. When I was in Fresno, actually, I spent a lot of time in ministry, and I was kind of like the staple of my life and existence in that place. And then when I moved to LA, it was for the purpose of trying to figure out myself as a TV writer and what I could do sort of in that realm of things. So
I feel like that is, part of life that a lot of people do, like going to LA and like experiencing it. So I want to hear about that. How was that? Is it what it's all like hyped up to be?
Yeah. What's crazy about LA is it really is a set. The city itself is like a movie set, like a TV set. because everyone in some way is connected to the movie TV industry. And so you get out there, and I think the first thing I really felt was a sense of freedom to really explore what I wanted to do. I got to get out there, and the first thing that really surprised me was how quickly I met people who were trying to do the same thing. So I initially came with a background of comedy sketch writing, and that was what I wanted to focus on and do.
I love that.
And so what's crazy though too is I left right in the middle of the pandemic. So I left LA in the summer of 2021, and everything was shut down. All the classes that I wanted to take, acting, improv, all this stand-up comedy I wanted to do, it was all shut down. So I knew that kind of going in, right? But I also figured, well, it won't last so long. I'll kind of get there. I'll lay some roots. And then once things start to recover, I'll have some bearings. And so it was very interesting trying to like navigate all that. But I thought it was an amazing, amazing experience.
That's a lot.
Yeah.
Comedy sketching, is that
Yeah.
something you've always had on your radar?
Oh,
And
yeah.
like, okay,
Yeah.
talk about that.
Yeah. So that started off when I was really little. So my best friend in middle school, me and him would always make comedy sketches. That's just what we would do on the weekends. And we also had another friend who was really good with the camera. And so we were kind of just like a trio.
So
I
is this like
always
a Saturday Night Live? Or
exactly
okay.
like that. Exactly. Just whatever came to mind. Like whatever we watched a lot of, whatever was popular at the time. Family Guy, Saturday Night Live, all the comedy stuff. And then we would just try to come up with our own stuff.
Hilarious. What's your favorite like comedy show to watch?
Oh man, that's a really hard question. The first thing that comes to mind, of course, is like The Office. That's my
Oh
favorite.
yeah, it's the great. Like it's basic, but like basic is good. Like
Yeah,
basic is basic for a reason.
bro, it's so groundbreaking. I mean, look at what it spurred. Like, I don't think we would have Parks and Recs without The Office.
Yeah.
You got like, what's the other one? There's Brooklyn
Brooklyn, yeah,
Nine-Nine.
Brooklyn Nine-Nine.
Yeah.
Superstore.
Yeah.
Love that one. It's so funny.
What the newest one is Abbott Elementary.
Yes. Yeah, I've been watching that.
So, fun fact: the director of Abbott Elementary was also a director on The Office.
Oh.
Yeah,
Okay.
Randall Einhorn.
Okay, that would make sense, So the comedy, I'm like, okay, I see.
Right, yeah.
That's hilarious.
So it's cool to see how those teams sort of like, transfer across projects and all work together and all that. But man,
I love comedies. Like, I don't know. I feel like everyone needs to laugh, and laughing is so
yeah,
important. There's like scientific studies, like
yeah,
it's important
yeah.
to laugh, but like comedies, like so important. I feel like they don't get enough credit.
No, yeah. It should be studied how good it is for your brain. No, it's a healthy thing for sure.
Yeah, you need to laugh.
Yeah.
So I love that. I don't think I could ever do like stand up comedy, but
Mm.
like I love going and like just appreciating like how funny people are. People are freaking hilarious.
Yeah. Well, and especially in a place like LA where you get to see so many different types of people do it. And it's one of the things I love about it most, I mean, particularly with stand up, is you're just kind of at the mercy of the crowd. You're trying out some jokes, and it's like you take your L's and you workshop from there, and it's I don't know, it was a cool experience.
Yeah, I could not do it. Like that, that's so funny, but that's hard. Like
Yeah.
it's hard.
I'll have to write you into a comedy sketch.
Oh my gosh, that'd be so
I'll
fun.
put you to the test.
That's so fun. But no, that's really cool. I love that. I did not even know you did that. Wow. Okay, now let's talk about how you ended up here. Was broadcast journalism on your radar? It sounds like you've been kind of dabbling in other stuff. So
Yeah.
how did you get here?
I'd never even watched the news. And really what happened first was I knew I needed to leave California. That was step one. And actually I was on my way to DC and found out I was going to be an uncle, found out a couple other things. And so I was like, I need to be in Indiana. Like this is where I need to be for now. So it's kind of just one of those things.
From LA to Indiana, though. That's like
yeah, man. I don't know. Yeah, that's one of the things. Obviously, we meet a lot of people every day, and they ask me where you're from, like what's your background, and everybody never fails to tell me that I did it wrong, that I got it in reverse, that I was supposed to do it the other way around. But yeah, man, everything about that transition was rough, but here we are. Kind of pulling through.
Moving here was harder now, just like from an hour away, 2 hours away.
Right,
So I
yeah.
can't imagine like moving across the country, going from, that was probably a culture shock too, from
Yeah.
LA to Indiana.
Yeah. No, it was. Especially so part of what made it manageable was because my family's been out here for a long time. So I visited kind of, on holidays and things like that. So that made it a little bit manageable. But yeah, I mean, it's rough. I mean, even small things like not being able to see a mountain in the distance, in California,
Just
we got
corn.
yeah, yeah, just flat lands. Um, but yeah, I mean, all the different things. I mean, obviously it's a little more the culture is a little more homogenous. Um, California is much more diverse. Um, but I mean, kind of what we were talking about earlier, I've come to really appreciate the unique qualities and characteristics of what we have out here.
Yeah, and I mean, so broadcast journalism was not even on your radar.
No.
So did you just apply for the job and you're like, okay,
Yeah.
like this seems
Oh
kind of
yeah. So
cool.
I don't even know if you know this story. So um I sent my resume. I was able to get my resume in front of John as a producer. So I applied originally as a producer because I was like, well, I've got experience in writing. Like, I know I could do that. I've never written for news or thought about that, but I did have a background in journalism because I was the opinions editor for my school publication in
Oh,
college. So I did that. So I was like, I kind of know, the basics of how to speak that language. Um, and so, but when I went into the interview with John, he was like, "Hey, I think we should put you in front of the camera." And he just kind of pitched it lightly as we were about to go back into the booth and watch a show be produced. And then by the time we kind of like finished that circuit and I got back to his office, we were like, "Yeah, it's probably the best fit if you report."
wow. And John obviously has an eye for talent. Like
Yeah,
that is
no,
his
no,
job is to like hire people.
yeah,
But it like just amazes me how he can just be like, yeah, you can anchor the news. Like I did not think I would be an anchor right out of college. Like if you told me that,
man,
I would probably laugh. I'm like, what? But yeah, he like has trust and he
yeah.
just is like, yep, you can do this.
No,
Like
it's a
before I
gift,
even know I could do it.
right?
It is the 100% a gift. But no, I did not know that. That actually is like mind blowing
Yeah, yeah. It was
because you're natural too.
Thank you. It's one of those things where I kind of did have it at the back of my head because I come from, I like to perform. So I kind of had that in the back of my head. I was like, man, I don't know.
Was it just him kind of giving you like permission to step into that then?
Oh yeah. Cause without his kind of push or without even his asking the question, I would have never, I would have never probably put myself in a position to be in front of the camera as a reporter.
Interesting. I think a lot of times in our career in like this industry, I think people are waiting for permission
Man,
to
say that.
get
Yeah.
into it because, and I think, I don't know, maybe men too, but I think women have a huge problem with that. Like
Mm,
they're waiting for someone to say, like, oh, it's okay to do that. It's okay to
mm,
own a business. It's okay to do
mm,
this. Like, no, screw that. You do not need permission. Just go and do it. If
mm,
you have a dream or like, I don't know, just a thought, like you can maybe do this,
mm,
like what's stopping you?
yeah.
Like try it. Life is too short to like not try these things. And I
Yeah.
like that story, like you got that permission and now you're running with it. You're doing
Mhm,
great.
mhm.
And do you think this is going to be something that you will continue to do? Like, what is your,
Yeah.
yeah, what do you want to do with it?
Yeah, I'm so open-minded, I guess is the best way to put it. And I have a different answer to that question every day. Just and it sometimes it's funny because sometimes it depends on how the day goes. Obviously, every day is different. There's sometimes like, yeah, I can't do this anymore. And there's sometimes like, I could really build something out of this. And I think ultimately it comes down for me. I really like to do long form storytelling.
Mm,
And there are ways to do that with what we do. Um, I just, yeah, sometimes it's frustrating for me to sort of be so confined just because the medium is confined in the way that it is, and it's just the nature of how that is. Um,
that's the least favorite thing about the job to
mm,
me is having a time limit
mm,
and a deadline.
mm.
Because there are some stories I'm like, I wish I had days to work on this.
Right,
Like I
right.
could make a masterpiece, but I'm live at 5 no matter what.
Man,
It sucks sometimes.
honestly, it's really refreshing to hear you express that. Because, like I said, I have a lot of respect for you and how you do what you do. And so to hear you express frustration at those are my top two, frustrating points. And so, yeah, there is something really difficult about knowing that you're in front of a wealth of information and content. You could go so in depth with it. But at the end of the day, you got that minute and a half, 2 minutes.
And sometimes I feel like I overcomplicate it too. Like I'll be so focused
Mm,
on like, okay, this has to be perfect. But some of my
yeah.
best stories are ones I literally just throw together. Like I just
Mm,
word vomit, throw out the thoughts, and then it turns into this great piece. I'm like,
right.
wow, I don't even know how that happened.
Once and that's kind of why it's that double-edged sword, right? It really is like the stone that refines you, like you kind of like iron sharpens iron, like you're the thing that's being changed by this medium because you're forced to just ultimately believe in what you've put together. Because right, if you're a perfectionist like I am, and you're right, so like you like to constantly edit and refine, then a job like this is going to force you to say, hey, at some point you're going to have to send it in, call it done, and get it out there to the people. So I struggle with it, but I also really appreciate how it just forms you to be someone who can decide and be like, you know what, it's done. I'm putting it out there, and I can move on to the next thing.
Yeah. I did an episode a while back on perfectionism
Mm,
because that was something I really, really struggled with like
mm.
back in the day. And I would tell someone if you struggle with it, just be a journalist because it forces you to show the world that you are not perfect, that you
Right,
are human. Like I know there are a lot of people that joke that like the anchors are robots.
right,
It's like,
right,
no, I am 100% human. I prove it every single day.
right,
And yeah, it really has opened my eyes. Like, no one is perfect.
mm,
If you have done a story and have never stuttered, you are lying.
right, yep,
But no, it does show like the human nature of it. Like, we're
yeah,
not these perfect AI robots. We just got done talking about
right,
AI, but yeah, like no one is perfect. And I feel like our job have this kind of label on it that it's like perfect and a really
mm,
it is a cool job, but like
yeah,
people think that you just show up and you read the news and you have your
right,
makeup done and your hair done. And that's just not the case.
yeah. I'm like, where does that happen at? It's
I'm
gonna.
still waiting for it.
What's funny is there are a few shows I think of, like the newsroom. There's the morning show,
Mhm.
and it's obvious there's all these, this glamorized version of what
Yeah.
we do. And it's like, oh, you got someone handing you a script, and you got someone looking out. Like, first of all, we don't even have people operating the camera in the studio. We
Half the
got
time I'm pushing record.
right. Sometimes you're out there by yourself. It's like, man, that's yeah. It's you are your own production team a lot of the times.
One
Finding the
man band.
story, yeah,
Yeah.
everything. Crazy.
Now you are really good at finding stories. And I think you are really good because you care about the community.
Mm.
So tell us what you look for when finding stories.
Yeah, I try to stay consistent with like at this point I have a system, right? I know what I care about. I try to start with what I care about. What do I want to be looking out for? And a lot of that has to do with news consciousness. What's been happening? What events are we leading up to? And then who can I talk to that can give me an update about something that we all know about, but we need more information about. But I try to stick within the world of mental health if I can.
Mhm.
That's kind of like a big bucket or beat for me that I like. And anything having to do with any kind of innovation,
Mhm.
because I think something that we share in common is the desire to put out whatever good we can.
Mhm.
Because obviously, news has the reputation of like every time you guys are on camera, it's bad news.
Mhm.
And I think there's a lot of legitimacy, right, to that cry of why people are maybe overwhelmed by news. And so I really try to prioritize like how can I find someone who's doing something really cool that can help other people. And so I think having that as like a priority has really kind of helped in some weird way, just kind of connecting with the people who are doing strange things. And yeah, I don't know. It's kind of back to what you said too. If people start to get familiar with you and what you like to do, and then they start to kind of figure out how they can help you get more of that.
Yeah, I've like made it my mission to no matter what the story is, no matter how bad, to try to find the light in it. Because 9 out of 10 times, there is a good part of the story, no
Yeah.
matter like what the situation is. Just last week, I did a story about Michigan City schools having to close down because a thief stole more than 20 catalytic converters from buses, which crazy enough, that's a story within it itself. But a school 2 hours away decided to donate buses, no questions asked. And that started a ripple effect, and other schools came together to donate buses. So it's stuff like that. Like there's always the bad stuff and we can just focus on the bad. But why not bring out the good? Because good is contagious.
Yeah.
And my whole thing is I want to inspire people in the stories I tell. And once they see good, they'll replicate it and there'll be more good out
Mm,
in the world.
mm. That part. Yeah. That last part is really crucial because we're like we regurgitate what we see and what we consume, right? So if we're always taking in the negative, then it's like, man, I feel like all I can manage to see is the negative. But like you're saying, if you're able to see a good amount of breakthroughs, a good amount of people giving back and people solving problems, then I think it puts all of us in a better position to actually A, feel like, yeah, that's possible, and B, like I could be the one doing that in some small way in my life. So I think that, yeah, I love that we share that. That's dope.
And then I want to peel back something you said there to
Mm,
something you said earlier
mm.
too. You are what you consume.
Right.
You are what you
Right.
eat.
Yep.
We hear that all the time, and that's so true. Like you
Mm,
need to fill your body with good, nutritious food.
right.
I I'm very sensitive. I have a sensitive stomach. I have to eat like really good food,
Mm,
or I will feel like crap. Like if I eat out 2 days in a row, I feel it.
mm,
But you are what you consume, and that translates to the music you listen
right.
to the shows you watch,
Yeah.
and literally everything. We are like sponges.
Right. Yeah.
And you mentioned earlier that mental health is a huge thing for you.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
I don't know if you have noticed this, but if I notice that I'm watching a lot of like negative news or if there's like a lot of stuff going on, I am mentally drained. And like now I know like I can pinpoint when that is because I'm consuming all this stuff.
Mm,
So I can nip it in the bud and I can like quit and get away from it. But I think a lot of people don't realize that they're consuming all this bad stuff. And then they wonder, like, oh, why am I depressed? Why am I
right.
anxious? So why is mental
Mm.
health so important to you? I want to know because I
Yeah.
know there's more to that. So
Yeah. I love that question. Um, well, I mean, I guess it starts off, I grew up as a really sensitive kid. And so you, that forces you to sort of learn what tools you need to cope in a world that's not necessarily built to accommodate that. Right. And I think, especially for, I'll just like, especially as a man, like the world isn't necessarily built to help or to create, you know, easeful pathways for sensitive men. And so for me, it's been a journey, right, of really trying to figure out what tools do I need in order to keep that sensitivity and also keep resilience alongside of that and kind of use it to my advantage. So mental health for me is the ability to learn all of the different tools via all the research in neuroscience and all the really amazing work that's happening in that field to learn what is my brain trying to do to help me out, because the brain is equipped to sort of give us an advantage, and kind of like what we were talking about earlier in the advantage of resilience to the things we experience that are difficult. And um, I really feel compelled to do as much as I can to help create a world where we imagine that we are really capable of creating sustainability, creating joy, creating peace, in every area of our life. And we don't need to sort of just succumb to the option where we feel like actually there's all this negative in the
mhm.
world. And so that's the only thing I can kind of output. So, um, yeah, for me, it was a combination of some, yeah, like family experiences and really wanting to, in every aspect of my life. That's why I was really drawn to ministry when I was in California. I really wanted to figure out how I could be a source of healing and be a source of comfort. And so, and it's a tandem of the spiritual element and the emotional element, and then just like the sheer science. I mean, we're in such a beautiful age where we're learning so much about the brain. I could go on nerding out about brain science, but I mean, at the end of the day, it comes down to the fact that we are learning more and more all the time about how our mind can really be used to help us and not harm us.
Okay, I want to put a pin in the mission work because I want to come back to that later.
Mm.
But you brought up really great points there. So, one, mental health, it is talked about a lot more open now than
Yeah.
ever.
Yeah, yeah.
But I think men have a huge pressure on them to be strong all the time and to kind of take
Right,
the burden off. Like you guys are supposed to be like the providers and the head of the house.
right, right.
But looking back at like mental health, like I work for a nonprofit poor mental health. So I do all this research, and the most suicides are men.
Mm,
Like that statistic by itself is enough to realize, okay, there's a problem.
mm, yeah. Yeah, I think you're right. I think there is, I think that statistic says a lot. The fact that there are a lot of men taking their life, um, says a lot about how difficult it is to believe in your right as a man to what I would call feminine energy. I know that that's kind of, we've introduced that language now. And so I usually try to incorporate that language of I think that we're all made up of masculine and feminine energies.
Mhm.
And I think that whenever there's an imbalance, you're gonna see it show up. You're gonna see it show up in your life. You're gonna see it show up in the world, right? Like, and so I think that um mental health for me has been a process of saying, okay, what does it look like for me to integrate femininity and integrate masculinity? And it's been really coming to terms with just being able to sort of pay attention to myself as someone who really can enact both. I can be very sensitive and emotional and attentive and receptive, and I can be very still, and I can also be very decisive, and I can also be very assertive, or all these different elements that are just part of being a person, right?
Yeah.
Like, so I think we're in a really great time right now where I think we're all kind of awakening to the fact that women don't need to just embody feminine traits, right? And men don't just need to embody masculine. And hopefully we can sort of help each other figure out what that looks like. And I think that's a beautiful process to be.
And I think that goes to, society knowing more now with,
Mm,
research and technology and people just being able to speak freely.
yeah. Yeah.
As a woman, I feel like you're taught growing up, like, be a good girl, like, always
Mm,
be perfect.
mm,
And I think all of that pressure creates that perfectionism that we were talking
mm,
about. Because I have to be a good girl. I have to do everything right. I have to make my parents proud.
mm,
I have all these pressures you're putting on an 8-year-old girl.
mm,
She's going to grow up trying to please everyone. And
mm,
then when you find out that you can't please everyone, which, spoiler alert, you can't, it's going to have some real implications.
mm. That's a really, yeah, that's hearing you kind of spell out the specific things of, yeah, perfectionism, and there are all kinds of things I'm sure that you could share even more and more of, like, the pressure to conform into this narrow version of your character, narrow version of your personality, your needs. Yeah, and for men, it's like, yeah, there's the pressure to, oh, whether it's being super decisive and always know what to do, make a decision, choose, know what to do, be done with it. Or always have a plan, always have a vision, and how to go about that. Um, or always be on guard about what you feel and not so willing to sort of like
Suppressing it down.
yeah, even yeah, suppressing it, and not, at the end of the day, no matter what part of yourself you're choosing not to exercise and practice, it's gonna show up. It'll show up physiologically. It'll show up mentally. If you're not letting that part of you get out of you, and I think that's why we see suicide, right? Is because it's proof that there's a part that needs to be let out, regardless of whether or not society is built to help you release that.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. All right. So let's take out the pen. I want to go back to mission work. Tell us about that
Mm.
experience, how you got into it, and
Yeah,
just,
yeah.
yeah, all the tea.
Yeah, yeah. That's a really cool story to tell. So I was raised in the Christian church, and had a really early experience spiritually with God, and just that was always kind of a part of my awareness, I guess you
Okay,
could
I
say.
love these stories. So
Yeah, it was.
elaborate.
Yeah. So I mean, the first experience. So I remember my grandma always shares this story to kind of like um, symbolize my journey as a kid. When I was 4 years old, she took me to a conference where there was just a bunch of different pastors from around the area. And it was just a very like spontaneous time of worship and things like that, a little bit of preaching here and there. And so I had a moment where I was just kind of out on the ground, kind of just having a moment. And then some pastors gravitated and started prophesying over me, and saying different things and knowing things about me that they couldn't have otherwise known, and, health conditions and things like that. Um, and so that that was, yeah, I mean, that kind of like epitomizes like where I was headed. And one of the things that was talked about was like me as being a leader of the people. And I really kind of took that narrative and ran with it.
Yeah.
And when I was 18 years old, I got really invested in my church in Fresno. And it was really cool. The story is that I was working at a shop at the time. The shop that I worked at, we built police vehicles essentially,
Oh, that's cool.
which yeah was a little different. But I was out in the alleyway and I saw this guy and we just struck up conversation. Random strangers kind of walking by, and at that time I was like really I really wanted a church, and I just didn't have a church to me at the time. And so he just invited me and plugged me in, and like that became my family.
That became your
That
church.
became my church. That became a way for me to develop so many different skills. And the leaders and pastors of the church um, really, yeah, just brought me into their family and also put me in a lot of different leadership positions. And so that was a really important time for me to learn sort of my mission and purpose as someone who really wants to just be available as someone who like intakes healing for myself, and then is also available to outpour that in whatever way I can for other people.
So you really felt called.
Yeah.
That's amazing.
Yeah.
Like, I love hearing those stories because,
Mm,
like, I think a lot of Christians just think that was a thing of the past, like
mm.
prophets were just a thing of the past and,
Oh
people felt, and like,
yeah.
no, that happens every single day.
Yeah.
Miracles happen every single day.
Yeah.
And I wanted to ask before you had your one big moment with like all the pastors,
Mm,
did anything kind of bring that on? Like, were you asking God for like any reassurance or
mm.
for
So
next steps?
yeah. Yeah, I always like to refer to music
Mm.
because I was always sensitive, and even like that story is really like a story that my grandma tells, and a lot of it I don't even remember because I was so young.
Oh my gosh.
But I always have that memory of something about the musical experience of worship. Was I was always sensitive to that as a kid, and I think something my grandma told me that she said stood out to her was that I told her, because she was asking me like, "What was going on with you when you were laid out on the ground?" And I was like, I told her that Jesus asked me if he could come in my heart.
Wow.
And she was like, she was like, for
How old
her,
were you during this?
I was 4 years old. So she was like, to hear a kid say, like, frame it that way of like, usually you're the one going to the altar and ask. So she was, I think that really stood out to her. And it stood out to me as like, um, a way to really relay what I've always felt is just a constant of like, yeah, God is with us.
Mhm.
And that's a relationship to tap into as often as you want to, as often as you need to.
Yeah, I had the dog chills from that. Like, yeah, crazy. I actually have a similar kind of experience.
Mm,
I had a moment. So I have always been like in a Christian family, like you. I actually went to Catholic school.
okay.
I'm not Catholic.
Okay.
I tell people I'm half Catholic, but I went to a Catholic school with like classes of like 20 people, like a very small Catholic school. I was from a small community, but I wanted a better education. I always had like good test scores. So my parents kind of pushed me toward getting a better education. So I went to this Catholic school, so only private school in the area. And I loved the experience, but it was kind of confusing going to learn all
Mm,
these Catholic beliefs when I'm taught other things. And I'm kind of questioning, like, whoa, like,
mm,
what is going on here? Like, because I know one thing with the Catholic faith that a lot of people um, critique, I guess is the word, is praying to the saints and to Mary.
mm,
And I'm like, I don't know how I feel about this. Like, I'm kind of feeling not convicted, but kind of just questioning, like, is this
mm,
okay? Is it okay to have a rosary? And I remember I was selected out of like the entire school to crown Mary with the rose petal crown. And I'm like, oh my gosh, I don't know if I'm like, is this okay? Like, of course, she's like the mother of Jesus and she's important, but like, is this okay? I'm not supposed to have,
mm.
like, and
Wow.
I'm like 10 years old thinking of all of this. Like, this is
Hey.
like crazy. So, I'm doing it and I swear, like, I have told the story, like, my grandma was there, so she witnessed it too. I don't know the grandma, like, okay, always the
Yep,
grandmas,
it's
always
always
grandmas, shout out
around.
grandmas. I crowned Mary and I swear time stopped.
Mm,
Like, literally everything like just froze,
mm,
and it unfroze, and all the petals from the trees, like everyone there witnesses, all the petals fall. Like,
mm.
it's just, like, it was so beautiful, and, like, I'm just, like, looking around, like, I literally have chills, like, talking about it
Yeah.
still. Um, but yeah, like, that was kind of just an acceptance, like, okay, but yes, Mary is very important, and it's okay to, like,
Hmm,
you know, do that. And I don't know, that was,
uh-huh,
like, very, like, eye-opening to me. I've always felt kinda, like, called, like you said,
mm,
like, to be a person of God, to share his message, and I'm very, like, not quiet about it, like,
mm,
love Jesus, love God, and I think it kinda gets a bad rep today. I think religion is something a lot of people either just ignore or are against right away. And I think, sadly, I think it's because a lot of churches, I think a lot of churches are judgmental and they push
mhm,
people away. But like you said, you found your church within a person. And the
yeah.
Bible says you need three people for it to be a church.
Right, yeah.
And God is everywhere. Like, you don't have to go to a church to be in the presence of God.
No.
Go out in nature. Like, He created this world. And that's when I feel like I'm closest to God. It's not when I'm in a church, it's when I'm out experiencing His creation.
Mm, man, that's a really powerful story. That's a movie scene right there, and I think what really stands out to me is just the power of a child to break through a fear that you don't even necessarily understand, right? Because you're being taught like this is the way, like this is what to do, and this is what not to do. And so in that moment, you were so innocent, and just followed your heart and did what you
I
needed to
think it was God saying, "It's
do.
okay.
All
Like,
right,
I know, like,
right,
I love you. We know you love us." Like,
man.
yeah, so I feel like it was just
Mm,
that moment, everything just kinda clicked, and ever since then, like, and I've never had a question, like, God is real, but it was just really cool to see him work in his
yeah,
ways, and I see this literally on every single episode,
mm,
but I always say God is a comedian.
yeah, yeah.
Like, he's so funny, like, the way he makes things work, just with the internships and WSBT. Like, I
Mm.
always had my heart set on Chicago and Lafayette, and I kept applying to there, and I applied here one time. This is where I end up. It's like, "I see you."
Right,
Like, "Ah, ha, 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 ha."
man. There's something funny about like being so insistent about what you should do with your life, and then like the lighthearted, like unexpected path is the one that winds up being the
It's
best one.
always that way, and then, like, in the Bible, every story is kind of that way.
Mm,
He doesn't call the people who are, like, certified, and,
mm,
like, he calls the
yeah,
ones who are the called. He like,
man.
yeah.
Yeah.
Moses didn't wanna speak in front of people, he had a speech
Right,
impediment, but he's
right.
calling him to speak. So, I think, I mean, whenever you are questioning, like, what to do with life, like, ask God. Like, he knows everything, so
Yeah, tap into that for sure. Yeah, it's a beautiful way to be able to sort of um add to what you know, because there's a limit to what we know. There's a limit to how much discernment we can come up with on our own, and there's a limited input of information, and so to have that, yeah, to have that other voice is that's a big deal.
and it's so important, especially in today, like, we're talking about the awakening of people and,
Mm,
like, kinda getting away from the norms in society. I
mm,
think that is for a reason.
mm,
I think now than ever, you need a relationship with God because, as the Bible says, your worst enemy is not another human.
mm,
It is a spiritual warfare happening.
yeah,
And, you know, all the bad things I think are spirit, like, everything is spiritual.
right.
I really do believe that.
Yeah, that's at the base of everything. Right. That's where everything starts. Everything material that you see, everything physical. And it kind of goes back to what you said too, if, right? Like even just kind of everyday consumption habits, no matter what you're consuming, it's like that is a spiritual. Food is spiritual. It's
Yes.
all yeah.
And I wanna touch on music. So you
Mhm.
said you're very sensitive to music.
Yeah.
I think
Yeah.
music is huge too
Yeah.
because how many times are we told to praise God with music? Like, that's huge.
Mm.
And I know there's a lot of, I'm sure you've heard, like, conspiracy theories with, like, the music industry and it
Oh,
being
sure. Yeah.
demonic and
Sure.
all of that, but, like, there probably is some truth to it. Um, I've told the story before on the podcast, I think, but there was a politician who came to speak, and he was begging these kids not to sell their souls. This is a politician saying this to 100 kid interns,
Mm.
and that's just kinda opened my eyes. I'm like, "There is something bigger that we do not see.
Man.
And he was talking about like Tupac and like, I'm not gonna lie, I'm a little too young to know about all that drama, but yeah, it was just like so interesting. So
Mm,
tell us a little bit about like your sensitivity to music.
mm.
Um, are you careful with what you listen to? Like, yeah, just kind of fill that back.
Yeah, I'm definitely really mindful, and it's you really hit it when you said you were talking about your experience of stopping yourself if you feel like you've taken in too much bad news, which is obviously easy for us to do because you got scanners going all day and all that.
Mhm.
But yeah, I really feel that I've always been, first of all, I mean, just in love with music and really appreciative of what it is as a way to sustain life, to help create life. And I think it's just a really beautiful element of life. And that was my first and primary connection to God.
Mm,
I started making music of my own when I was a kid and even on into like early adulthood. And so, yeah, it's been a process of really appreciating what I've come to think is um, that you can hear what a person's sort of MO is or motivations through their music. If you're listening to anyone's music, you're listening to their life, right?
yeah.
You're listening to their spiritual habits, you're listening to their perspective and their um what they hold on to, what they hold dear.
Hmm.
And so that's why some of the best music you might have a hard time with, like, okay, the message, but then like sometimes why it feels good is because they're really personally convicted and invested about that life, no matter what it is, whether you feel like it's good or it's bad, that person is like drawing life from that thing. Um, and so, yeah, I definitely notice if I'm taking in too much of one thing that I already knew ahead of time. I already know that too much of this can lead me in a bad mood because you're listening whenever someone is singing or rapping, whatever they're doing, they are playing the emotion of their life, the emotion of their day. So, and that's healthy because you got to
Yeah,
express,
absolutely.
you got
And
to, yeah,
I do want to preface, like, I do
yeah,
listen to rap music.
right, right,
I
right.
jam to some hot girl jams. Like,
Yeah.
I can't do it all the time.
Right, right, yeah. Well, yeah, it's knowing, like you said, paying attention to yourself.
Because we're in the world. Like, we are out
Right,
here, like, we're going to be subjected to this stuff.
right,
But
right.
it's that gray line. You can't pass it because that's when you're gonna feel the effects.
Yeah, yeah. It's about paying attention and saying, okay, sort of maybe taking note and watching patterns of like, okay, this is how I feel after so much of doing this or doing this at all, or
Kind of being intentional. And I
yeah.
think there's something about music that we don't quite understand, like how
Mm.
powerful.
Oh yeah, oh yeah,
There's like studies done, with like
yeah.
brain health and
Right.
music. They play music with like people who are in comas and it like helps them like
Mm.
wake up sometimes. Like it's actually insane. And I don't think we know all the powers that are in music.
Oh yeah, no, for sure. It's a different wavelength. It's a different wavelength. And tuning into it can really change your mind's direction and your heart's direction. Um, yeah, I mean, it can alter it for better or for worse, and so, yeah, powerful stuff. It's
Yeah,
crazy.
that's really cool. So do you sing or like do instruments or is just like listening to music?
For me, singing is a real, just a natural like therapy and just
Yeah.
way I like to live. Um, I used to do it like I used to be. I had a group of people I was recording artists with, and we had a group in Fresno, and so that was really cool. And it's definitely something that I try to just pay attention to as a way to live and to live healthy. Because I know if I'm not singing, if I'm not, I'm like, okay, something's off.
Yeah.
That if I'm not pouring it out, either whether it's to express joy or to express grief or whatever it is for, I know it's an important tool in my bag.
Absolutely. Okay. So we've talked about a few important tools and
Right,
like,
right.
laughing and then singing. Cause like, yeah, like you said, happy or sad. Like I have a whole playlist on my phone. It's titled like sad songs to
Mm.
scream, cry.
Yeah, yeah. If you don't have one of those, you have one. Yeah, yeah,
Yeah, like sometimes you don't even have to be sad. Like sometimes I just want to like feel those emotions, like
yeah.
let it out. And yeah, singing is I love singing. I'm not
Mm,
like the best singer, but I do enjoy it. I was in show
mm,
choir in high school and
for sure.
theater. And I don't know, singing, there's something about singing too.
Hmm. Do you feel like it's a way for you to sort of even maybe come into awareness of what you do feel. Like you said, if you're playing that sad list, you're like, oh shoot, maybe you're feeling something you didn't really
Yeah,
know.
100%. Yeah, 'cause sometimes I'm like, "Why am I crying?"
Right. You're like, dude, why that lyric or why that
Yeah,
chord?
sometimes it just hits me. I'm like, "Ooh,
Right.
why did I have to do that?"
Yeah. Yeah. I think it's something to rely on too, because you're like, wait a minute. And then you can kind of sometimes you can kind of build onto it too. You can kind of add in like, okay, let's get into the next song. Let's see what this opens up. And so it
Mhm.
becomes this almost like an emotional encyclopedia of like, that's exactly what that means for me right now. Yeah.
Yeah. Is there any kind of music you do, like, totally avoid? Or you just kinda open to
Besides
everything?
country music?
Oh, no. You're in Indiana, you can't say that.
Yeah, man, I know they're coming from me. They'll find me if they do say that. I don't know if there's music that I avoid. I don't think so. I think I'm so comfortable with like what's good for me that I don't necessarily have to.
Limit anything,
Right.
right.
Yeah. Like I'm just not even attracted to things that I'm like, I already know that that wouldn't be.
Something
I'm
you're
not into
into.
that. Yeah.
Yeah, I
Yeah.
feel that, yeah. Because like, I had people, like, ask when I talk about this kinda stuff, they're like, "Okay, so do you just, like, not listen to, like, certain artists that
Mm,
who like Little Uzi Vert, who's, like,
right.
totally out there," and I'm like, I do, but, like, I limit it, like, and now I really don't, like, I don't really have any interest to listen to him,
Mhm.
but, yeah, it's interesting. Music is powerful, and I don't think maybe we'll ever understand the scope of it,
Yeah.
maybe in the next life, but, yeah, I do love music,
Some
so
things are left better left mystery.
yes.
There's a love and a mystery. I like it.
Definitely. So, any other things that you think are just a great tool to have in life? I feel like that's like the main part of this episode. We got
Mhm.
laughing, we got singing and music.
Man, yeah, bringing us full circle. I like that. There's all kinds of tools.
What's your
Um,
best tool? What do
I
you
think
think?
my best tool, is a free is a freedom to experiment. I think that if you can really be thoughtful about life as an experiment, I think you learn better. And I think that kind of even ties back into if you struggle with perfectionism, right? Experiment is your best friend because if you're an experimenter, you're just going into whatever effort you put into anything. You're going in with the desire to get a controlled result back. Like, what can I learn about this? What did I do? And is there anything I want to do differently next time? And I think if you approach life as an experiment and keep that on hand, I think you're in a good position to really like A, respect yourself and whatever efforts you do put forward, and B, develop and build your intelligence about how to build the kind of life you want to build.
It's very similar to life as a journey, right?
Man,
Yeah, no, it
yeah,
is
yeah,
because like you are here to learn.
right,
You are here
yeah,
to develop. You're here to grow. Like you are growing in this minute. Like every
yeah,
single minute, you are growing, even if you don't realize it.
right,
And, I say this a billion times every day too. And I said on your podcast, life is happening for you, not
yeah.
to you. So everything that happens in your life, good and bad and mediocre, it is all
Mhm.
purpose and it's all building you to who you are supposed to come.
Yeah, I agree. I like that. Yeah, that's definitely one of my new tools too. Yeah, it's taking what you have and really being able to sort of have the autonomy to say, I can make something of this, and you can be honest about what it's the actual impact of it of on you is, like this sucks, like this
Oh,
is art.
and one thing that is
Right,
so powerful and it doesn't get enough credit, vulnerability. That is strength.
man.
That is literally so strong. Like when people come out and are so honest and just about their struggles. I just think that's so brave and
Yeah,
courageous.
that's one of the toughest thing to do. Lay yourself bare. Be like, this is where I'm at. Um, but that's a foundation for growth, right? How else do you develop if you cannot be where you're at? How can you get to the next place if you can't love yourself where you're at and really appreciate it? Then get even if you do get to the next place, you won't even it'll be lost on you. That's one of the things I've learned too is like you can do so much and give so much effort to try to change or try to develop, but if you're not appreciating the work you're putting into it, the gains you're getting from it, then it's like, what's the point of the experience of it,
Yeah, what's the
right?
point? Yeah, exactly. Okay, so I'm gonna end the podcast with the question I always
Mm,
end with. What's next?
Man, I think this is next, to be honest. I mean, in the broad scope of things, I really enjoyed these kind of conversations, kind of, harkening back to what I said earlier. I think long form storytelling, long form conversations
Mhm.
where we have a chance to sort of get at the core themes, find patterns, and build from those with intelligent tools, podcasting, um, and all kinds of short form, long form content. I wanna continue with the podcast. I have a podcast. We just came from that.
Give yourself a little promotion.
Yeah, no, we just came from that. So Cicely has been was a great first guest, and so I want to continue with that. That's definitely next. Um, yeah, and hopefully even more of the same.
All right. Well, thank you so much, Kylan, for jumping on and that great conversation. I think that's going to reach a lot of people because we're just talking about things that literally impact all of us. So
Uh,
I hope you take something from this episode, even if it's just to go watch a comedy
mhm.
or just take a nice, relaxing break from, this crazy, crazy world. But thanks for tuning in and closing another chapter of just life. Bye.